Hi, this is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next we've got a unboxing from a recent Very Gary claim sale. Stay tuned. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. Now, before I get into the unboxing, I wanted to make just a kind of like a quick update from the prior video that I released. And this is based on some feedback I got from a couple of people that watched the video. And so I said, if I get something wrong, I have no problem giving some feedback, and I want to hear about it because I'm always trying to learn, too. And so I wanted to make a couple updates to some books that I had shown. So the first one was this one, which is Detective Comics 395, which I said was the first Neil Adams Batman work, but it is actually the first Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil kind of joint work. So their work together on Batman. And so they actually worked together on a number of kind of major story arcs and major books that we're all familiar with. So this is like Batman 232, Batman 251, as well as Green Lantern 76, and that kind of long Green Lantern and Green Arrow run that has a number of key issues in it, like the drug story, Green Lantern 87 that I showed in a prior unboxing. So I just wanted to update that, and the actual first Neil Adams Batman work is Detective Comics 370, which I will plug. I don't own a copy of that. I will plug a picture of it in kind of up here, so you can see what that cover looks like. So that's the one update there. Then the other, this is kind of an update, but also just some additional information that I thought was kind of fun and useful to share. So this was the Avengers Annual 10, which is the first appearance of Rogue, and I had mentioned that I always thought that this face with the kind of face with the question mark was Rogue, but it is actually Miss Marvel, and kind of a little kind of extra information about that was that Avengers Annual 10, and this was from the you can see it in the let's see the comments in my prior video if you'd like to go check that one out, but. This wasn't intended to be the first appearance of Rogue. Originally, it was going to be Miss Marvel 25. So Miss Marvel had a run from issues 1 through 23, and it was supposed to go 24 and 25 as well, but it got stopped short. So issue 24 was supposed to be the second appearance of Sabretooth, and issue 25 was supposed to be the first appearance of Rogue. But since it never got released, it ended up being Avengers Annual 10. So just, something quick that I wanted to add in just to make sure I clarified that, and just some extra information that I thought was kind of fun and useful. So now to the unboxing. If you haven't watched the Very Gary claim sales, kind of claim sales / auctions before, highly recommend it. He tends to have about one a month, give or take. And so if you follow his channel, you'll see when these things are coming out. And even if you're not going to buy anything, I mean, this is actually the first time I've watched all of them, and this is the first time I've ever bought anything on one. And so even if you're not going to buy anything, they're fun to watch, just to see some books, laugh at stuff. They're always entertaining. It's basically always him and Jay DeButcher, and as well as one other kind of guest that are doing these sales. And there's always something funny that seems to happen. And this time it was Jay tried to pick up his dog Tank, and to show everybody, Tank wasn't having any of it, and kind of like snapped at him, kind of tried to bite him a little bit. And it just ended up being a story for the rest of the night, and he's got, I think, like t-shirts now with, with the Tank trying to bite him. And so it's just, it was a lot of fun. So so I bought one kind of lot from Gary and then one from Jay, and this is the one from Jay, and it was a Star Wars lot. And cut into that one first, and so we've got so like I said, this was a Star Wars lot, and there was one book that I particularly wanted from that lot, and that was this one. And so this is Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, and this was a special Kenner release. And there are actually two covers for this one. There's this one that has, you can see here, it's kind of hard to see, but has Boba Fett on the cover. And this, there's another one that has Darth Vader on the cover, and I'll plug that in over here. And the interesting thing with this is there are actually different interiors for this book, depending on the two different covers. And so this one has the first appearance of Dash Rendar in it, who is kind of a famous smuggler character from the Star Wars history with Dark Horse. And now that Disney and Marvel have seemed to say that anything from these time periods are fair game, I think it's only a matter of time before we eventually see that character. So I thought this was a cool book to pick up. And this whole lot, it only ended up being, an auction. It was pretty late in the night, and so I think, there just weren't as many people bidding, and it was only $90. And for all the books that came in here, $90 was, it was a deal. So I was happy to pick it up. So, I probably would have picked it up almost for that book alone. Because, he said it was a 9, and I would say it's at least a 9. It looks really nice. So it's a really thin book. It is not a normal, comic book. It looks like it's probably only 8 or 12 pages, something like that. But so this lot came with it wasn't all kind of modern books like this, but it did have two others. It had Star Wars Dark Empire number 4 and Star Wars Dark Empire number 5. These are, these books aren't really worth all that much, but then it also had from the original kind of Marvel Star Wars run, it had Star Wars number 2, which is, it's a low grade, but still, it's Star Wars number 2. And I had a 9.8 of that book that I picked up in maybe like late 2019 that I sold in early 2020. I think I sold it for like $600 or something. That book is going for like $1,500 plus now in a 9.8. It is crazy what Star Wars books have done. But then also Star Wars number 3, number 11, and 2 and 3 are in lower grade. They're pretty low grade, but this one looks pretty nice. The higher ones look nice. Number 12, number 13, number 14, and number 15. And so for $90 for kind of all these books, I'll take that all day. So I was happy to pick those books up for that. And I will probably end up sending, this one in for grading, even if it is a 9. It's just with that character likely coming out, and then the popularity of Boba Fett, and having, looks like you've got like Slave 1 on the cover too. It's a cool cover, and I thought that was great to pick up. So the second book that I picked up, I thought was kind of fun too, because then I can kind of show some of my books from when I originally was collecting, back in the 90s. And that was actually something else that came up from that last video. One of someone who was a new subscriber to the channel had asked some kind of questions about kind of how I started collecting, that kind of thing. And I originally started collecting, I don't even remember when I first did, but would have been either late 80s or early 90s. And my older brother collected comics, and kind of, like you do, you follow what your brothers do. And so my younger brother and I also started collecting comics, and we played tennis, and we'd go to tournaments, and whenever, like, the first thing we would do when we got to most like hotels and things when we were doing these tournaments, we'd pull out the phone book, because this was before the internet, and we would look up the comic shops that were local, and we would basically make my dad take us to those comic shops, and we'd go through them. And that's actually where I ended up getting the name for Automatic Comics, was that there was one shop we went to that was called Atomic Comics, and I don't know, I called it Automatic Comics because I was a stupid kid and I couldn't read. And my brother made fun of me for years, even though he doesn't remember it, but I do. so I ended up taking that name and using that, and I thought that was kind of a fun thing from my history that I could use as my name for this channel, and for my like YouTube's or my Instagram and eBay and that kind of thing. So, but thing that I think helped me out on this was actually, I was saying how Tank tried to bite Jay, and Gary put this book up for sale right after that. And it was a claim book, and like I said, if you haven't been on these claim sales or these auctions, there are a lot of people on them, like 500 people. And so with claims, they can be tough to get because there's so many people watching. I think people were still distracted with the with the Tank situation, and so I managed to claim this book, and I thought it was a great price, and it's a book that I've been looking to pick up for a while, and it hadn't been the price I had been wanting, and this one it was in that price range, and so I decided to pick this one up. And if you this book, I'll talk about it a bit, but this book is interesting because it's got a real strange kind of pricing with it. It's really flat on its price outside of the very high grades, which means you can often get some pretty good deals at some kind of like lower. It's a modernish book, so kind of some higher grades, mid to higher grades that you might not normally. I don't know. It seems similar to what I've seen with X23, or not X23. NYX number 3, first appearance of X23, where outside of like 9.8, 9.6, maybe 9.4, it's a really flat price going down. So you can get some decent books for a good price without, having to really get down into that to a really low grade. And so I'll take this one out of the bag here. So what this is Incredible Hulk number 377, but this is the third print, and the third print commands a significant value above the first and second prints for this book. And one of the reasons is, one, it was a very low print run for this book. I don't have the print run numbers offhand, but a much lower print run for this one versus the first and second prints. But not just that, the second print came out pretty quickly after the first print. This one came out 4 years after the first print, which it's always kind of weird with how they do the dates on these, because like it still says that it came out in 1991, but that's the date for the original. So this came out 4 years later, which, I mean, I think nobody was looking for it, which is why, I don't know why they decided to do it or what. It's also got this really kind of strange green color. I mean, it's like pea soup kind of color. I don't know why they picked this one, but it's an 8.0. It's kind of a, for a modern book, it's a relatively low grade, but and an 8.0, it's still a relatively valuable book. I mean, a 9.8 is, you're paying a couple grand for this book, whereas the first print, $150, maybe $175 or something like that for a 9.8. So what I also brought up is, this is where I could, since this was from my prime collecting years when I was a kid, I have the first and second prints of this book, and so this was the first print, and it's this kind of cool neon green color or cover, and then the second print here is this one, which I think this is the coolest print of all three. You've got I love kind of that reverse coloring and the black cover. The second print actually goes for more than the first print as well. Not nearly what this one does, but I think a lot of that is because of how black the cover is. But I was looking at these because I went to kind of like try to find them because I knew I had them somewhere. And one of the interesting things I always think about with these compared to these high grade Silver Age, Golden Age books. I mean, when I was a collector as a kid, generally what I did is I would buy a book and I would immediately put it in a bag and board. I mean, I didn't even read them all that often. I was, it was kind of the stereotypical 90s collector where you're just like, I'm going to get all these books, And so I have multiple copies of, like X-Men 1 and that Deadpool, the X-Force 1 with the Deadpool card. I should have brought those up. I think I got like 3 Deadpool cards. And but like this one, I was looking closely at it. I mean, it's probably a 9.0. It's got, maybe like 10 color breaking spine ticks. And I put this thing straight in a bag and board into a box, hasn't left that box basically for like 30 years. And you get these books from the 60s, the 50s, the 40s that are higher grades than this, and I'm just like, man, how did those books survive? I mean, I'm guessing maybe it's just when I was a kid, I wasn't really looking when I was picking them off the shelf, and they were probably damaged already, from shipping, and that could have been the reason behind it. But because it always surprises me how people can see like these modern books, from the 80s and earlier, or 80s and more modern. How they seem like 9/8 are just so plentiful, but I'm just like, I put these books straight into bags and boards, and I don't know if any of mine from what I originally collected were 9/8. But I again kind of just I thought this was interesting. It's a cool book. You can find them on eBay, but they're pretty pricey. I thought it was cool to see that one pop up on that sale. It was a good price, so I decided to pick it up. Just thought it was kind of a fun throwback to, like I said, to my original kind of collecting. So a couple great books from that claim sale: Hulk 377, the third print, and then the Star Wars lot, including the Shadows of the Empire kind of Kenner special issue that has the first appearance of Dash Rendar in it. If you'd like to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I will film some more videos when I get some more books in. Thanks again.